What's up, YouTube artists and aspiring artists? Mike here with Aerosotle Custom Spray Paint Art, back at it again today with another beginner spray paint art tutorial video. If you're just getting started, make sure to go ahead and check out the beginner spray paint art tutorial series. This is going to give you some in-depth info on how to create planets, do some of the basics. I'm just going to elaborate and walk you through my painting today. As you can see here, I'm using like a reverse planet stencil, so I've cut that out of some poster board just by tracing an existing planet stencil that I had on hand. I'm going to do a few rounds of trying to get the textures right for this one, so bear with me here. Tossing down my plastic bag and peeling off. Initially I was going to kind of go for an earth look. I just couldn't get this one to click, so I go over it a few different times. In the end, a nice thick layer of white is what did the trick for me to have this one look right. So we went from kind of trying to make an earth originally to just going with and accepting a regular old blue planet. So that thicker layer here, letting it dry a little bit and peeling off to reveal that look here. I guess it's kind of earth-esque. Nonetheless, this is what I'm going to rock with for the rest of the painting here. Coming in, I'm going to use some transparent Montana blue. So this is see-through paint. I'm using Montana gold here in today's spray paint art tutorial. These can be picked up at an art store. A lot of people use Rustoleum, which is also available at a hardware store. From there, I put some transparent black, just going for a subtle shading effect. And I put the matching planet stencil back on top here. I'm going to work in now with some neons. With this, these almost act as transparent. They're a little bit more as far as coverage goes. Tossing in some orange here. I think that color is called Power Orange. Today's painting is pretty basic. It's nothing, to write home about, but I did really like the color scheme we came up with in the end. So I encourage you guys to play around with colors. Using some transparent pink here. I wasn't sure even with the background what I was going to do, just freestyling this one. In the end, I'm going to toss a whole bunch of red and a little bit of yellow on top and really go for that kind of color scheme, contrasting with our blue planet. And what came out the other side when I texturized this sky, it was a pretty cool, almost tie-dye effect. So I had some fluorescent red coming in with some darker maroon red, back in with that fluorescent red, just really varying the shades that I have going on here. Little tiny bit of yellow, not really a necessary step. And I'm going to go in and texturize, kind of pressing down the edge of my planet. Really like that look, that almost fiery tie-dye look. As you can see, a lot of that blue from my shading and whatnot was popping through. Pretty cool effect, but I did go around and just toss a little bit more white around my planet here, blacking out the outside edges, just giving it a bit of a darker look, making that really feel like that bright area is popping. Here I'm going to pop in with that white as mentioned, trace around my planet, and just texturize a little bit just to break up some of that blue and get a nice contrast between my planet and the galaxy in the background, or sky, or whatever you want to call it. Not too worried about putting a name on whatever we're creating. We're just worried about making some awesome looking spray paint art. In this video, I've been doing a lot of palette work, so that's just work with a palette knife, trying to get some cool results and textures. As always, I'm flicking some stars on here, trying to give it a bit of more of a space vibe. With this video revealing our nice blue planet, I wanted to go ahead and do some more stuff related to that palette knife. And I actually created some mountains pretty much just using that. So I'm coming in here with a little bit of yellow overlapping on top of my planet just a little bit. And I'm going to come on top with some black Montana gold, not using the transparent anymore. We're using the thick stuff. And I'm just going to go over that yellow. That's the general outline of my mountains. And make sure you have a nice neutral. Whenever you're creating mountains, you do want that neutral color on top to help give you some shadow, some contrast, and some variations in the light and texture. Once I'm satisfied with the general shape of things here, I am going to go ahead and come in with a little bit of, I think, more fluorescent green, if I'm not mistaken. And we're just going to make a few clouds, fluorescent orange to start with. Just really hitting lightly a couple of areas here. Not trying to go for a very drastic look, but just break up that sky in the mountains. Here's that fluorescent green or yellow, just swooping across, giving a bit of a space gas effect. And again, blending that sky from the background into the foreground a little bit, giving some depth to where our planet is sitting. And then we're going to come in and just scrape with one side of our palette knife, varying the pressure. We're creating the light side of our mountain here. As you can tell on the other side, I'm not scraping. I'm just spreading that wet paint to get that dark side of my mountain. Really, really easy, quick, cool way to make some spray paint art mountains. So play around with the palette knife. You don't have to go in and peel the mountains off. You don't have to paint them on. Just spray your general shape. Put a neutral on top. I like that gassy effect to kind of break things up. You might need a bit of clear coat. That's what I just use. It's just clear spray paint. Allows you to moisten the paint up yet again and come back in if stuff's dried up on you and you need it to move around a little bit. Because of the colors in the background in my sky, because of that blue bit with the planet where it overlaps on that mountain, we got a couple of cool, really contrasting mountains. One's got more of an icy look. The other one's got more of a fiery, red and orange effect to it. And I think it was a really cool way to put this painting together. If you guys are interested in checking out how to make some awesome stuff with spray paint art with your palette knife, go ahead and check out the tutorial. I'll have a link down below and probably something popping up on your screen if you're watching on a computer. This next stage, and here's something that I get really, really stuck with. I always wind up painting, a different version of almost the same scene. Maybe some space scene in the background, usually some mountains. Then I come in, I usually have some water to break up the midground, and usually something anchoring the painting in the foreground, like another mountain or piece of terrain. With this one, initially, I was just trying to do some neutral midground stuff. I was not trying to have this turn into water. As you'll see as this painting progresses, I kind of cop out, and lo and behold, I make some more water. So that's what I'm working on here. Again, at this time, I didn't know it was going to be water. I was just going for some kind of misty, gaseous, midground, almost multicolored fog. And in the end, I did decide to go in and turn it into water. Still looked cool in the end, still happy with the result. But I'm really trying to break out of the mold of painting the same exact thing every single time with just different colors and a bit of a different composition. If you guys are stuck, let me know your tips on how you get out of the creative block of trying to come up with something new and different. Always a struggle, always a bit difficult to do, but definitely always looking to expand my horizons. So if you have an idea for a scene, let me know in the comments down below. I don't want it to have mountains and water, so if you got an idea for something unique, let me know. You'll see me work that color in just before I put that black down. Again, the neutral is really going to help with our mountainy look here. I'm coming back in with more of that transparent yellow green. I guess it's more of a fluorescent, not fully transparent, but just throwing down a bit of a neutral to break up that midground, and a little bit of white on top as well. White's really going to help give some rocky effects and almost some natural highlights without having to go in and scrape the painting with the palette knife. Little burst of light there, just cascading through the mountains. A little bit of a touch up on that midground color scheme there. With this stuff, you just want to move your hand really, really fast if you're trying to get those misty light effects. You don't want that paint to pool. You don't want thick coverage. The only way to do that is move really, really quick across the page, and that will typically help out in giving you a nice even effect without having the paint pool. From here, I'm using a plastic bag technique just to lay down on those colors and those neutrals we put down and pull off some paint. Really simple, effective, easy way to make some mountains. So in this painting, you saw two very simple ways to create some stunning looking rocky terrains or mountains with spray paint art. Coming in, shading that back edge. Light and shadow is key. As we have those highlights in the front, we need some shadows to contrast that. In the foreground, it's always going to look a little bit darker than off there in the background closer to our light source. Here is where I started my water. What I'm using is a little rubber or silicone palette knife. I'm just spraying some white spray paint onto the tip of that little silicone palette knife and going in and kind of creating a bit of a water line, kind of creating some reflections and some movement there once I decided this was going to be water. I wanted to try something new. I don't usually use this little silicone palette knife, but I tried to mix things up. In the end, I'm going to go back to the tried, tested, and true method of simply using some clear coat, using a nice, fresh, clean glove after I got a little bit of white or another neutral on top there. And I'm just going to streak my hand across, to give that more natural, smooth looking, watery texture to this painting. If you guys are enjoying the video, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you can stay in tune with when these videos go live and be part of the Aerosotle community. And if you're wanting to share some of your artwork with me, the best way is over on Reddit via the Aerosotle subreddit. So check that out. We'd love to have you. We're a growing community of over 100 spray paint artists, just trying to learn and grow together. There's my water kind of streaking across. It's not perfect, but again, it's really not about being perfect. I just want to show you guys a few tips, tricks, and techniques. Make sure to sign your paintings, put your stamp on it, make sure the world knows who created that wonderful work of art. If you guys are really enjoying the channel, you've learned from this, maybe you even sold some of your artwork you've created from some of the tips and tricks in these videos, pop on over to Patreon and show your support to the channel. It's as cheap as $1, and it goes a long way into helping us improve this channel, making sure we always have paint to work with, and helping out with the supplies and various items that go into making these videos. Thanks so much for watching. Slap like, and until next time, I'll see you again in a future spray paint art tutorial.